Start our meeting. Want to welcome everyone today and hope you all are doing well, healthy and happy. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. And Jessica's getting folks from the waiting room, so. All righty. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Jessica. And Richard Pine, invocation and your words of inspiration for us all today.
Thank you. In the Christmas Carol, Scrooge says to the ghost of Christmas yet to come, "I am not the man I was. Why show me all this if I am past all hope?" For many of us, 2020 has been a difficult year. We are not the people we were back in January. As Rotarians, let us be firm in belief that the world is not past all hope. Let us be beacons of hope in our community. Amen.
Thank you, Richard. So Marty Reed, who's math teacher at our Salem High School. Marty, would you like to introduce our student of the month? And then Tiffany, what we'll do is Mr. Reed's going to introduce you right now. And then I'm going to call on you in probably about 10 minutes, to come up to the podium and and present to us, okay? So Marty, if you'd introduce Tiffany to us.
Absolutely. So I'm Marty Reed and I teach math and computer science at North, and I had taught a lot of really great classes, a lot of AP classes over the years, and I've seen a lot of great students. And Tiffany stands out as not only a great student, but a great person. She has a lot of accomplishments. She's obviously, if she's being chosen, I'm sure you guys don't get a lot of bad students, but she participates. One of the things that I really like is her inclusion and how she takes part in the robotics club at North. She does a fantastic job. She's on an all-girls robotics team that qualified for nationals last year and unfortunately didn't get to go due to COVID. She's a member of the varsity track and field team. She has a 4.0 GPA. She's a member of the National Honor Society, and she volunteers at Marion Polk Food Share. She has a lot of achievements, and I'm sure there are many more that I don't know about because Tiffany doesn't like to talk about herself very much. But the most important thing in my view of Tiffany is that she treats other people well. All people, students, staff, anybody. And for my money, that's the most important thing that she can do as a person and as a student. And so it is my great pleasure to introduce Tiffany today.
Terrific. Thank you, Marty. And we look forward to hearing from you, Tiffany, in just a few minutes. Want to roll into welcoming guests. And Shane, you mentioned that you have a very special guest today.
I do. This is Shane Griggs, and my guest is my best friend, my golf partner, and my husband, Jim Griggs.
Great to be here.
Hi, Jim. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Do we have any other guests? I don't see anything in the chat.
Sue, I do.
Pardon me?
This is Laura. I do.
Okay, go for it.
All right. President Sue and fellow Rotarians, please join me in welcoming first Marty Reed as my guest, who just spoke and is a math teacher at North Salem High School. I'd also like to welcome Karma Kraus, and Karma works in the Salem-Keizer Communications Department as the manager of public engagement for our capital construction project. So please welcome both Marty and Karma. And then I also would like to welcome Michael Wolf, who is Salem-Keizer's Chief Operations Officer, whom I will introduce more thoroughly here in a few minutes.
Terrific. Thank you, Laura. Was there anybody else that I missed? And appreciate Marty and Karma, both of you joining us here today. Okay, So visiting Rotarians, I see Mary Louise is a visiting Rotarian today. So welcome, Mary Louise. We always love having you here.
Thank you.
And I don't see any other guests in the queue. So thanks for joining us, Mary Louise. All righty. Next, I want to hand it off to past President Tammy Denny for the first reading of our incoming slate of officers.
Thank you, President Sue. As immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Salem, it truly has been my honor to chair a nominating committee this year, unfortunately, even in a pandemic. The committee participants, which are determined by our bylaws, the composition, has been meeting since late September and has selected and presented to our board of directors the slate of officers and board members for the year 2021-22. I want to thank the members of this special committee who accept their charge to abide by a cloak of secrecy. It's a very big responsibility, and they took it seriously, and we did our job, and we are really excited as a team to present this slate. So thank you, committee members, even though I can't name you publicly. You know who you are. Our nomination slate was accepted by the board in November, and I'm here today to present the slate to you, our membership. Per our bylaws, we have 2 readings of the slate of the directors and officers for our club and for the Rotary Foundation, the Salem Rotary Foundation, prior to our annual meeting and elections, which will take place later this month. Today is just the first reading. The nominations. For the Rotary year beginning July 2021, I have goosebumps. Does everyone else have goosebumps? I hope you're paying attention. The following are the nominating committee's recommendations for directors and officers. And perhaps Jessica might be able to find and highlight these individuals as I call your name. Normally, of course, if we were meeting in person, we would ask you to stand at this point in time as your name is called. For the Salem Rotary Foundation, as outlined in our bylaws, the Salem Rotary Foundation, it is our responsibility, their board, to present to the membership, us to present to our membership the composition of names for the Rotary Foundation. The SRF board is nominating both Linda Wooters and Jane Downing for their second 3-year terms. So thank you, Linda Wooters and Jane Downing, for your willingness to continue to serve the Salem Rotary Foundation. We appreciate sincerely both of you and your tireless commitment. For the Rotary Club of Salem, thank you, Jessica, for finding our members. I appreciate it. For the Rotary Club of Salem, for the officers, of course, our very own Holly Berry, continuing to serve as our secretary. Thank you, Holly. And our treasurer, Chuck Swank, who really needs no introduction at all. We love them both, and these two really are the anchors of our club. As the presidents come and go on an annual cycle, these two really hold down the continuity and provide that, that real wonderful system that keeps us all running seamlessly, even in the face of a pandemic. So thank you both. Our president, because of a little bit of some time issue and time constraints for our previously nominated individual, Steve Horning, because of work commitments, he had to step away, and our very own Chain Griggs will serve as our president beginning July 2021, and she is now serving as our program chair. So Chain, thank you for stepping up. We do really appreciate it. I know Steve does as well, and the club is sincerely appreciative of your willingness to say yes. And Jim, you can give her a big hug and a kiss after we present this thing. And for the board members, we have some new board members that are planning to join us. Of course, all of this is upon your agreement. So membership, we're proposing Neil Henning for a 3-year term. Fundraising, Cindy Linesar for a 3-year term. New Generations, Jen Columbus for a 3-year term. And our David Deckelman will continue in his service for this next year for World Community Service. I need the drum roll, please. And I know you're all on mute, but could you just give me a high sign that you're paying attention, because this is really exciting. The individual who's willing to step into the role as president-elect and president for the year 2022 So David, thank you for your willingness to serve. Thank you for your contribution to our club and for saying yes when I called you and said, I have a special favor. So according to our bylaws, now I'm required to ask you, are there any nominations from the floor? So please unmute yourself and tell me if there are any nominations. Are there any nominations? Oh, Renee is telling me that I must have my microphone must have gotten triggered. Maybe Jessica was turning everybody's on for a drum roll. But the PE is David Deckelman. Did everybody hear that now?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. Sorry about that. So technology is not our friend sometimes.
Yeah, I momentarily muted you on accident. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, Jessica. Things happen. Thank you. I noticed that my microphone was then slashed out. I thought, oh, I wonder how long I've been talking and you didn't know what I was.
It was only for a few seconds.
Okay. All right, good. Okay, so David Deckelman, thank you for saying yes. But are there any nominations from the floor? Did I see any, was there anything else in the chat that I need to pay attention to?
I don't see anything in the chat, Tammy.
Okay, thank you, President Sue. Hearing no nominations, and that is our slate. I am obligated to read this twice before the board, before our annual meeting, before our membership. So I will be back next week to offer this slate again. So it will be repetitive for those of you who participated today, but thank you for your continued enthusiasm and your participation in Rotary. It takes all of us to make this program work, make our Rotary Club work. So thank you very much. I love and appreciate every one of you.
Thank you, Past President Tammy. It is an exciting leadership slate to look forward to for next year. So we're on to club announcements, and I wanted to start us with Ryan Collier and Beth Rhodes.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Madam President, fellow Rotarians. Ryan Collier, current fundraising board member, and Beth Rhodes is the chair of our Good Works event committee. And we are here to talk to you about our plans for 2021. You'll recall our amazing Good Works auction, very successful, well attended. It was a wonderful event right before COVID hit. So we have, as a board, have been contemplating what do we do in a COVID world. We were hoping that, of course, would resolve itself, which it didn't and won't. So we are having to be flexible. So this year in 2021, we have made plans to do a couple things, knowing that even though vaccines are starting to come, they really won't be fully ready. So we will be under certain restrictions. 1, small groups. 2, we must be outdoors if we're going to meet and socially distance. So what we're all missing is fellowship. I miss you guys. I don't get to see you at Rotary meetings right now, and I want that camaraderie within the confines of what we're going to be able to do. And so rather than doing an auction this year, we've made a decision to, 1, move our event to when it's a little more warmer climate, and we wouldn't have to be outdoors in February. So instead, we are going to save the date for Saturday, May 22nd, and Saturday, June 5th. Instead of doing one large event, we are not going to do an auction. We're going to do small fellowship events. And so we are here today seeking to recruit people that are willing to host an event of 10 or fewer people, either outdoors at your home or another location, with the idea that we would gather approximately 10 or 15 hosted events on either May 22nd or June 5th, depending on host preference, and be a little bit creative and also a little nimble and a little bit flexible. And so 1, we want to save the date. 2, we want to start recruiting our very own Shane Griggs and her best friend, Jim, have agreed to be one of our hosts, and we want to recruit some more. So Beth, would you add some details for us?
So like Ryan said, our current plan is to host hopefully around 10 people, all depending on the new guidelines. So if you've got a patio or outdoor space that could fit that, and would like to host, please send us an email. We'll be in the new newsletter soon, so you have easy access to our email. Thinking outdoor patio, perhaps you want to go on a hike and have a picnic at the end. It could be a brunch on the lawn, margaritas and tacos. So think creative if you would like to host. We're relying on hosts to provide food and beverage and kind of take care of the event. If you want to co-host with someone and that would be interesting, please let us know who that could be. We're not asking that you put together your group. As far as those 10 people, we'll help distribute that, and that will come later once we get the save the dates out and the links so everyone can register for that. So email details to follow with all of that information soon.
Wonderful. That's exciting. We appreciate your creativity so that we can all be flexible and still enjoy each other with some fellowship and important time together. So thank you for that. I didn't, and we've already got several people in the chat that are raising their hand and interested in hosting.
I was furiously writing down, but please also follow up with an email because I'm losing track of the chats.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
So dates again, somebody asked are May 22nd or June 5th. So we don't need everyone to participate in both events. It would just be one or the other, sandwiched around Memorial Day weekend. We know there's a lot of vacations and wanted to give some flexibility for everyone to be able to work with their schedules.
Wonderful. All righty. Any other announcements? Again, I'm not seeing any in the chat. So I'm going to back up to welcoming guests, and Deb Patterson has a guest here today.
Well, thanks so much, Sue. Jason Greenwood's here from Divine Distillers, and I just noticed in the chat he's offered to host a gathering. So welcome, Jason. Glad you're here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, Deb, has Jason been submitted for membership? I just don't remember seeing his name. Oh, great. Way to go, Jason.
Yep.
Thank you.
All righty. All righty. Let's see. We are on to bell ringers. Rick Galpo.
Sorry, I had to get off mute there. All right, we got some bell ringers today. Ozzy is ringing the bell one more time for Salem Rotary's 2010. Sorry, 2010 was in the chat. For Salem Rotary's 2020 Tree of Joy project. Thank you, club members, for your generous support to date. We still need more money and more toys to spread the Christmas joy to the many underserved children in our community. Club members can still support the effort by making a tax-deductible donation, check or online to the Salem Rotary Foundation, or purchasing a gift for a child of any age, getting it to Don Boswick. Ring the bell. Sandra Burnett of the Salem Art Association. Oh, Sandra Burnett of the Salem Art Association is ringing the bell to launch the all-new Bush Barn Art Center online marketplace. We are excited to have launched this program to serve our artists and communities with the opportunity and interactions in the arts while respecting the need to keep everyone safe during the current pandemic. We invite you to access our virtual gallery through our website at salem.org. Peruse the web pages and enjoy gifts that will be cherished artwork that inspire and uplift, and beautiful items for everyday use. Through this platform, we encourage you to support local artists and keep the arts thriving in our community. For members, you can get a member discount on all artwork at the online marketplace just using your code SAA members 10. Thank you, and ring the bell. We have a double bell ringer, Vanessa Nordyke. Vanessa is ringing the bell for fellow Rotarians, Deb Patterson, on her election to the Oregon State Senate. Deb looks forward to this opportunity to serve our mutually beloved Oregon. Vanessa is also ringing the bell for Deb's predecessor, State Senator Denise Bowles, in recognition of her service to our community. Please ring the bell for Senator Bowles and Senator-elect Patterson. That's our bell ringers. I think we have one from the floor if we have time.
We have time.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you. I would like to ring the bell for Rotary for all of you. You might have heard that I resigned. I'm retiring as of the end of the year. After some 4 decades running nonprofits, I kind of feel I owe myself something. So this has been in the works for a while, but suddenly there's just a few weeks left and it's racing towards me at great pace. So it's been very intense, and I haven't been attending that many of these because it's been an awful lot trying to do. I'm going to come to what I can over the next while of the Rotary meetings. I especially want to introduce you to the interim director, Matthew Boulay, who's going to step in while we are still going through the search process. He's an artist, a veteran, and has many years of nonprofit governance, and is just the perfect person, and he's also a board member. So the perfect person in the right place just to step into the breach for however long the search process takes. But I do, if there's one thing, I mean, it's been a fabulous 11 and a half years with Salem Art Association and in the Salem community. I have a property up in Washington, south of Olympia, and of course that's where I'm going. It's been my retirement specials place for a long time. So I will only be in Salem for special events and things like that. I still feel somewhat tethered to Salem Art Association, so I'll certainly be there at all its special events. But if there's one thing I kind of have a regret about, is that I didn't engage with Rotary as much as I would have liked. I think it's amazing the work you do, the community building that comes out of this platform, out of the Rotary group, and just kudos to all of you, and thank you so much for that fellowship, for that momentum towards a better community that you all represent. So just saying thank you, and I hope we still interact in some way. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sandra.
Okay. Rick, I don't see anything else in the chat, so.
I don't see any others either, so
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, very much. And congratulations on your retirement, Sandra. That's exciting. All right, so Tiffany, you've been very patient as our student of the month, and I would like to welcome you to share with us about your, about this recognition and what your plans are. So I'm handing it off to you, Tiffany.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Chen. I'm a senior at North Salem High School, and throughout my high school careers, I've been a part of the STEM club and the robotics team, and I've also taken engineering courses all 3 years of my high school, and I also really like challenging myself. So currently I am in AP Calc and AP Physics, and as for future potential careers, I'm interested in something related to the biotech or environmental sustainability fields. So I'm planning on continuing my education at Oregon State, pursuing chemical engineering. Lastly, I would like to thank Mr. Reed for this incredible nomination and the Salem Rotary for recognizing my achievements.
Wonderful, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. We have time for one question for Tiffany. If someone has a question, I don't always like to jump in and be the first one. So, all right, Tiffany, I think you're off the hook today. So thank you so much for joining us. And I know you're Mr. Reed and your school administration are very proud of you and know you're going to go very far in life. And we're excited to continue to hear from Mr. Reed and from Principal Towie what you're up to and what you're achieving. So go Beavers, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
So thank you for joining us. In your honor, you'll be receiving in the mail soon a certificate as our Student of the Month in Math and Science, as well as a Rotary Challenge card. So be looking for that. We'll be sending it to North to get to you. So thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it. All righty. So Laura, I'd like to hand it off to you to introduce our program and our guest today.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. And first of all, congratulations to Tiffany, and thank you for representing Salem-Keizer right now. And we look forward to you going to Oregon State in the fall. That's going to be awesome. I get to introduce our program today. I'm really excited to do that. You may remember back in May of 2018, which feels like an eternity ago now, our community passed a $620 million bond to expand schools across the Salem-Keizer School District. And since that time, we've had a number of schools whose projects have actually been completed. And they've received expansions, including additional career, technical education spaces, science classrooms and labs, gymnasiums, and so on. We have 8 schools that are continuing with their construction projects right now, and we will be adding 17 more in 2021. I could talk for quite a while on this topic as someone who works in one of those schools that is under major construction, but I don't want to steal anyone's thunder. So I do, however, want to say thank you for your support of this bond project, because it will make a significant difference in the academic experiences of our students. So with that said, our presenters will provide an update on our bond projects and share a plan for a new transportation facility as well. We all know Christy Perry, our superintendent of Salem-Keizer Public Schools and a fellow Rotarian. She is coming to us from Vancouver, where her newest grandbaby was born on Monday evening. So Christy, we're glad you could be here today. And I'd also like to introduce Michael Wolf, and it's my privilege to introduce him to Rotary. He is our Salem-Keizer School District's Chief Operations Officer, and that's a position that he has served in for 10.5 years. In my experience, he has been very involved with our construction projects. He's very helpful, very knowledgeable, and I, for one, have really appreciated and actually really benefited from his leadership. In addition, his daughter is a senior, and she is rocking comprehensive distance learning and just received her first college acceptance letter. So please welcome Mike Wolf.
Thank you. Thanks, Laura. And Sue, it's good to see you again, even if you're just a tile on a screen. It's been a while. No, totally. We're so done with this. Okay. If we could, is someone going to pull the slide up, or I can take it? There, Jessica had reached out to me.
Yeah, I can share that for you.
Okay, that'd be great. And then I'll, as Laura said, first of all, Christy and I really want to thank everyone. We wouldn't be here without your support. And from the faces on the tiles, I know that many of you have been involved in this effort all along. And we go back a ways. So I would just say that if you could go to the next slide, what you'll see here is basically a continuation. The 2018 bond really starts, when you're developing the needs for a district, that's a 3.5-4 year process. So the 2018 bond is really a continuation in some respects of the 2008 bond. And so we as a district and a community a growing community still, even though COVID may slow things down a bit, need a lot of investment. And so we're very grateful to the Salem and Keizer communities for supporting the district with bonds about every 8 to 10 years. And so you can see we're already 2 years into that cycle with this bond. And we started developing the needs that led to this bond in about 2014, just to give you a sense of timing of the lead up to this. And then the next slide will show you basically, as Laura said, it's almost a $620 million bond. It was passed in May of 18. We have a community bond oversight committee, which meets quarterly, and the group monitors the progress of the bond. I think it's really important to have the community oversight. They report to the school board and provide recommendations on the use of the bond funds. And of course, we have to stay within the voter approved ballot title language, which we are. The program includes improvements at all schools with major expansions and renovations at 32 schools, and we'll talk about some of those in more detail. I would like to just really acknowledge the 3 co-chairs for CBOC. We've got Nancy McMorris-Oddix, Mark Shipman, and Lisa Harnish, all names that should be familiar to most people. We're really blessed with the continuity of leadership, because you had Nancy as a board chair that, you know, shepherded the process, and then both Mark and Lisa were on the long range facility planning task force that actually provided the recommendations to the board. So they're coming full circle on this one, and happy to have them. They're super leaders. And then just the next slide gives you general overview. We have a much larger bond program than what we started out with, and here's why. We have additional funds from earnings and grants, reimbursements, and premiums. And working with CBOC and the board, we've actually increased the approved program amount by about $80 million. And so we're at just a little over a $700 million program. Special note is this does not increase the tax burden, the levy rate at all. What it does is it allows us to deliver more improvements than we've originally promised in the bond program, but it also allows us to be flexible when we get into a project. For those of you who live in this world, it could be called scope creep, or it could be we just missed that one thing when we started talking about it 4 years ago. And so we realize that these are investments that last forever. I mean, we have several of our schools that are over 100 years old. And so these aren't 10, 15, 20, 30-year propositions. So we want to make sure that we're doing it correctly. And the next slide gives you a little sense. So we just issued our second and last bond issuance in June, and we secured $51.5 million in premiums. Adding to that, the $65 million in the first issuance, you can see the total of a little over $116 million in premiums. We were able to maintain our solid investor ratings from Moody's and S&P in spite of COVID, which is no small task for those of you who Christy knows. Those are not easy conversations to have with people. All right, and then we'll move right into the construction update. If you could move to the next slide as well. Thank you. So here's how we started. We started early, actually. The board approved an early start. We call it a jump start, even before the May ballot. And the reason for that was they really saw the need to begin the design and land acquisition to support this program. This is the 3rd largest K-12 bond in the history of Oregon, certainly the largest in the history of Salem-Keizer. And we knew that we needed to front load as much of the program as possible. So we started with 5 schools. And what you see, I'm not going to go through each of the numbers and the years here, but essentially what's happening, we front loaded the program to be essentially a 5-year delivery model. And again, that's a very aggressive schedule, and no one could have predicted COVID. But it hasn't slowed us down, and a lot of people wondered about, you know, what the impact would be. And we've been, our protocols, ours and our contractors have been excellent. So we really have not, you know, our biggest issue right now is maybe long lead time on some key materials and supplies, but nothing that would slow the project down. What you see though, when you front load these programs, is you see a stacking of projects. So like the 2019 projects move into design, they move into construction in 2020, the 2020 cohort starts design, and then the next year, the 2021 starts design as 20 moves into construction, and you're still wrapping up construction in 2019. So all that to say is 2021 is going to be the busiest program year in this bond. And the next two slides, if you could fast forward, basically is returning money to the economy. It does, there are economic models that show every dollar spent in an economy, local economy, can turn three to six times. So you can do the math over time. The $700 million program could, on the high end, be pushing a couple $2 billion into the local economy at a time when we need it. And, you know, it's interesting, the 2008 bond passed just as we were heading into the Great Recession. And so that bond really helped pull some of our contractors and architectural firms through that very difficult period. And this one is as well. And you can see a list here. I do want to remind everybody, local is defined as having an office in Oregon, not necessarily in Salem, but most of these do have offices in Salem and headquartered there. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks. And then we'll move right into the 2021 projects. Mostly what you're seeing is the way that we're creating cohorts of projects. So we started with the 2019, and each of the first three cohorts have as sort of the centerpieces of those program years, two of our comprehensive high schools. So we started with McNary and North, and for those of you who haven't been to either one of those yet, I would highly recommend that when we open them that you do, because they are phenomenal. Laura's living through that experience right now at South, and I will tell you that South will be a shining star like the rest of them. And we'll talk a little bit. In fact, if there's time for questions and you have any questions for Laura, she's the expert in living through it right now. People just tell me about how it's going. She's actually living through it. And so you get a sense of where the projects are. So the first 2019 was McNary North, 2020 is McKay South, and 2021 we're wrapping up with Sprague and West as some of the key projects. Okay, the next slide will show you completed projects. Hard to believe that we're really 2 years into the cycle, and we are wrapping up a lot of projects and closing them out, which is it's a super good place to be right now, let me tell you. Gives you a sense. Our middle school projects, all of our middle schools are getting additions. Those additions typically run anywhere from $6 to $14, $15 million, depending on the site. Just to give you a sense, Auburn is one of our largest elementary projects, and that will also be a phenomenal project when it's completed. It will be a whole new school for the students in that area, and much needed. All right, these 13 schools are finished or very close. Hoover and Miller are finishing up details, but are scheduled to be substantially complete by the first of the year. So we're making great progress. Sorry about that, it's a lot of P words. All right, now we're getting into the fun stuff. These are pictures. So at Gubser, Gubser is one of our pod schools, and if you've ever been to a pod school and you wondered where the cafeteria was and you started looking for it, you'd never find it because it doesn't exist. So they were designed without cafeterias. Well, as promised in this bond, we're fixing all of that. I wouldn't call it a design flaw. I would call it a design anomaly to create an elementary school with no cafeteria. So we're fixing that. This used to be one of their play structures, and you can see the blue pillars in the back, those were the supports that held up the play structure. And so now it's a beautiful cafeteria. This was pre-COVID picture, just so you know. And we sure would like to get lots of kids back in there, but it won't be looking like that for a while. Okay, next slide is just to give you a sense of what a new classroom at Gubser looked like. Gubser was our first elementary school. I really like this picture a ton because the teacher is, he was involved in our boundary review process and helped us immensely as we shifted student populations, one, to support future growth, and two, to marry up with the expansions that we're making in all of our schools. So that was super cool. All right, and then we're moving on to some of the bigger ones. So this is McNary High School. Started work in spring of 2019, and we finished up this fall. This is the view of the new classroom addition on the north side of the school. We added 14 classrooms, along with CTE spaces, special education classrooms, and expanded parking. Also a redesigned ingress egress for the campus, which will make it much more efficient. If any of you have ever been to McNary at either the beginning of school or the end of school, you wish you weren't there because it was a mess. And we haven't really had a chance to test to see if the design works, but we're looking forward to it. Okay, next slide. This will show you what the front of McNary looks like. You may remember how it used to be, where you could actually walk into the school, not even know where the office is, and wander around. That will happen no longer. These are secured vestibules. You can see off to the right, the brick and the overhead cover. That's the new administrative wing. So you can see lots of good visibility on the front entrance, and there's a secured foyer as well. You can see the larger structures in the back. That's an additional music space. And also McNary does a really good job of integrating sort of the applied learning with their CTE and their academic program. And so there's some really cool special spaces up there for their digital recording studios as well as music. Christy, I'm talking really fast. If there's anything you'd like to say, just jump in. I know you
doing great.
Pretty yeah, okay. All right. The next slide will give you a sense of one of the CTE spaces. Really proud of this. This is the Diesel Bay in the automotive program. This was before they were completely finished, but it gives you a sense of size and scale of what a state-of-the-art CTE program space looks like. Next year, this will be Laura giving the tour of all of the spaces at South. So while that's Eric Jesperson in the background, Laura will frame you up for next year. All right, next slide is the next big one, which is completed, is North Salem High School. This is the new west entrance to the school. It really beautifully connects the main parking area behind the school to the academic complex, and we'll show you that here. The next slide. This also, though, is it's a completely new satellite commons area, and additional CTE space. Perfect, thank you. This is the woodworking cabinet making program at North, which is super popular and had, I think, maybe a third of this space to operate in. So this was a huge expansion for North. They're really excited about it, and they should be.
And if, if you've seen any of the coverage by the Salem Reporter, this is the classroom space that 3 of our woodworking teachers across the district are teaching out of during CDL. So they've developed a collaborative partnership, and they're teaching kids from 3 separate high schools. So there's some kind of cool innovation that we can do as well during CDL related with these spaces.
Perfect. And then the next slide, this gives you a bird's eye view of the 2 classroom wings at North, where we added about 20 new classrooms, additional CTE space, a new main and auxiliary gym, more parking. And basically what you have here is you have the addition that's facing the athletic complex, and there's a courtyard in the middle of the 2 wings that's quite exceptional as you walk into the main gym. And so once again, well, when we're open for business, I would highly recommend you check out your North Salem High School because it is absolutely stunning. And yes, I can do about 2 minutes. Let's wrap this up. Next slide gives you a bird's eye view of Waldo, one of our middle schools where we're expanding 4 new science classrooms, new gen ed classrooms, expanded cafeteria, and auxiliary gym as well. All right, next slide. We'll wrap these up pretty quick. This is what a new auxiliary gym looks like. This is at Waldo. Much needed PE space will allow us to get a little closer to the PE requirements that the state keeps saying we need to do. Okay, next will be, I believe the next one is also Judson, if you can move that one forward. This is what a new expanded cafeteria looks like. So we really do like the storefront look and the roll-up garage door approach in the middle. So we're able to get lots of air and fresh ventilation in there. Next is Hoover. Hoover, this is the entrance to the new classroom wing and a new multi-purpose fitness room. This, for those of you who are familiar with it, was just basically an outdoor walkway between the building and the gym. So this this is a super cool one too. And the Hoover community is extremely excited about this addition. And then the next one just shows you what a new classroom looks like at Hoover with nothing in it. Looks pretty big, doesn't it? Wait till we fill it. All right, and then the next is Miller, just to give you a sense of some of the additions there. This project was a result of the boundary review task force recommendations. So just a way that we continue to keep our task forces and committees engaged along the way. And then here's a couple photos of McKay. McKay will, if you can hit this one, yep, there's a bunch of construction, but it's this slide right here. Oh, go, yep, right there. This is what the artist design rendering will show. Redesigned front entrance, and you're looking at the 21st century library and science wings for McKay, and on the backside is their new auxiliary gym as well. Super cool. And then south, what we have is we have some artist drawings as well, architectural renderings for some of the elevations at south. I'll just call your attention to the top right. That's the New Rose Auditorium entrance off of Howard Street. Next slide, we'll wrap this up. We're making phenomenal progress at South, and what you're looking at here is the east side of the new Performing Arts Center, which will have over 900 seats in it. It's one of 2 large performing arts centers in our district. The other is North. And so typically you don't build an auditorium this size for a high school, but you do when you're in Salem. So we're happy to make that happen. And then lastly, we have just sort of the layout at Auburn. And again, this one, it's not a very exciting picture, but the next one you see when we come back to give you an update, we'll certainly have a lot more. So with that, I'd open it up to questions, and I hope there is time for a few.
Thank you, Michael. That was really informative, and I know folks are excited to see the progress. And I would echo, if you have a chance to go to North Salem High School when they reopen, I had the opportunity to get a sneak peek a while back, socially distanced, and all the windows and the light coming into that facility on the new construction, it's amazing. It is truly amazing, so well done. I know we'll have questions, but I normally just take the opportunity, since I have control of the questions, to start us off. So I'm gonna watch, Jessica and I'll watch the chat and the hands raised, but I wanted to toss it to Laura, who's in construction mode, and having a facility that's been in our community for so many years, I'm curious about, when you prepared for construction, what kind of treasures you might have found, or as demolition happened, what other treasures you may have found?
Well, that's a great question. And especially as an alum of South, I was absolutely in search of treasures. And so prior to demolition, we went floor by floor and looked in custodial closets and our basement, which had storage from 65 years worth of junk, honestly. And we grabbed a few things that had sentimental value to people that we know, like certain plaques and trophies that we were able to give to former teachers. One thing that meant a lot to me was the cupola that is like a little gazebo that was on top of the roof. And that is currently in my driveway, actually. It's huge, much bigger on ground than it is on a roof. It's gigantic, and we were hoping to restore it and right here on site, but we were told, you know, we had to get it off site or it was going to get demolished along with everything else. And we had about a day to figure out where to put it. So it remains in my driveway, and hopefully we can restore it back to its original condition. So just, we have actually, I found a lot of telephone directories from 1954, 1955, and the list just goes on and on with the treasures. And as an alum and as somebody who spent the majority of her career here, it's been really fun to look at those treasures because I know so many of the people that are represented by them.
Very cool. Thank you, Laura. So Richard Pine, you had a question.
I have a question on the new parking lot that exits onto Howard Street from South Salem High School. Many of the neighbors are kind of confused that the exit is mid-block, and we're kind of curious about what is the intended route for traffic leaving and coming into the parking lot.
Yeah, that's so we've been working with SCAN and the neighbors, the surrounding neighbors, around their specific questions. And so again, lots of traffic design people involved, and so it'll be ingress egress at the parking. I think what we're looking at is ingress from the top, and you'll see a serpentine where the pool used to be, connection to the lower parking lot, and then an egress onto Howard Street from there. So again, there were some serious issues that were raised by the neighbors and SCAN, and we worked together with them to get all of their concerns. Now there may be some additional ones that we need to address, but I hope that answered your question.
Well, I'm not sure you answered the question. I now understand it will be incoming on the top and then outgoing at the bottom in mid-block, but is the intention to split the traffic north and south, east and west? Are you just thinking they'll filter through the neighborhood and out? Or are you trying to keep them all on Howard Street?
Yeah, so Howard Street will be the main arterial for traffic flow, just like it is now. I mean, it's intended to be. As you know, South is wrapped by its neighborhood, so it's a really unique site. But yes, we're expecting the traffic to head in both directions on Howard Street as primary.
Thank you. Ron Kellerman, you had a question about West Salem. Okay, well, I will.
No,
I will ask.
I got it.
Okay.
So the West Salem High School was built 2 bond issues ago, and it was pretty spectacular when it opened in 08, I think it was. What's going on now? Why does it need any part of this bond money so soon?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And that goes way back to the long-range facility planning task force that I talked about and the lead up into the bond measure itself. So what we're looking at is expanding the capacity at our schools across the board, where we would expect enrollment to expand over the next 10, 15, and 20 years in some cases. And so really looking at this being a super long-term investment with respect to capacity. And so we use Portland State Population Research Center projections and are building our high schools generally out to a capacity of 2,200. West would be a capacity of 2,100. And the original design was closer to about 1,650, 1,700 students. So there's the expansion there, but there's also expanded CTE. You know, I'd have to go back to the original proposition with the bond, but expanded CTE was also some real crampedness with respect to their locker rooms, and they've got pretty full PE courses, and so a lot of what's going on there is due to the expansion, but also some internal work as well. And West is a phenomenal facility, but none of them are perfectly designed, and they don't operate the way necessarily you'd like them to, you know, 20 years later.
Great. Thank you. And then we have one final question from Linda Wooters.
Hi, sorry. I'm just wondering, with the COVID situation, if it's actually speeded the process for construction.
Yeah, great question. A little bit, but mostly when you lock in a construction schedule, that firm has already locked in other construction schedules. So there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity for us to speed things up, although where we could, we have, but not as much as you might think.
All righty, thank you. So Michael and Christy, thank you so much for our program today. It was very informative, and it is exciting to drive past the buildings, our schools in the community, to see the progress. And I know my club kids, my club next to Hoover, those kids we're hearing from staff and kids that they're excited that they're going to be able to come out that new front door and go right into our clubhouses. So, so thank you for all your great work. In honor of you both, we'll be making a donation to our very own Salem Rotary Foundation. So thank you again for joining us. As we wrap up for this meeting today, next week, past President Ron Kellerman will be presiding in my absence. It's my Boys and Girls Club board meeting Wednesday. Exciting for all of you next week, we will be holding our annual Salvation Army Kettle fundraising drive at our meeting next week. So watch for details in our e-blast this coming Tuesday. And then we know that we may likely hear from the Salvation Army Band. So this is a long time tradition of our club, and we look forward to everybody that is able to participate in this fundraising effort for the Salvation Army important work in our community. And then in regard to our program, next week it will be our Gold Star report, highlighting what we've done over the course of the last interesting year. And past President Tammy Denny will be our program chair. So with that, I want to thank Tiffany for joining us today as Student of the Month in Math and Science from North. Our guests, Mike and Karma from the school district, and our presenters, as well as Jason and Jim. So with that, everyone have a wonderful day, and we will see you all soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.